Welcome inside another edition of the pregame presented by Twitch. Vince Sapienza here, coming to you from Raiders HQ, once again alongside the 8-year NFL vet, former Raiders running back Rashad Jennings. And Rashad, we got a lot to get into as the Raiders get set to snap the 4-game skid at home at Allegiant Stadium, looking for that first win on their home turf. And before we can look ahead to the Titans Sunday, we have to look back at what was a tough outing on the road in Indy, 40-6. The score was one thing. You talk to the players this week, they feel it wasn't quite indicative of what it looked like. Just your first impressions of what that game looked like on the road against the Colts.
It didn't look good. It didn't look good. I don't think anybody in the building thought it was a great procedure, and that's starting from the top to the bottom. I think a lot of players are looking themselves in the mirror, rightfully so, not necessarily looking across the aisle at other players. They're trying to figure out what it is that they can do to add to the team, get more productivity. But, I mean, special teams, you got to be – they call it special teams for a reason. It's a special play. It's the one play that changes the entire dynamic of a football field within 50 yards of a ratio. It's a 50-yard play, at least at minimum, every time they're out on the football field. And so, getting that straight, getting the third down straight, protecting the ball, all these little things. And execution at a high level that we need. And like I said, I think the guys and the morale will stay there. Mm-hmm. And I think people will look in the mirror before they start looking and pointing at each other.
So talk to me a little bit about that. Obviously, you've been in a bunch of different locker rooms, then been through success, been through some lows as well in this league, as every player is. Because we hear that a lot, right? Looking in the mirror, figuring out what you need to do to be better the next day. What does that look like in real time during the week when the cameras are gone, there's no media, it's just you, your team in the locker room? Like, how does that come out within the group?
Yeah, so like taking an idea and a concept and actually making it applicable, right? And so this whole idea and notion of, the man in the mirror and taking personal responsibility, all these things happen on a Monday and it informatively happens on a Tuesday. Let me explain. When you play on a Sunday, I give what we call a 24-hour rule, Vince. That's what I like to call it, a 24-hour rule. If you played well, great, be happy, celebrate. You got 24 hours to relish in those emotions. And if you played horrible, get on yourself, dog yourself out. You got 24 hours to relish in that feeling. Why? Because we're humans. So to try to act like we're robots and we don't care and we don't see tweets and all these things, like you're human. We got to learn how to handle these things. So give yourself 24 total hours to feel whatever you want. And then after that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well you played that last week. It doesn't matter how bad you played that last week. You have to be able to focus on the next week. And so what happens on that off day, on that Tuesday, is as a professional athlete and these vets, you really focus on, now that I understand what happened, how do I contribute personally to help this team and this organization win the following week? Mm-hmm. But folks, don't make no twist about it. I'm going to keep it real with you. When you play bad, and even if sometimes when you see a teammate play bad, you, as a fan, you see the same thing an athlete sees. So we have thoughts, absolutely. But what makes a great family is the same thing that makes a great teammate. And that's being able to understand all the dynamics, sit down, talk about it, and move forward and think about what you can do better.
So, Rashad, to that point, I think that segues perfectly into the topic of Geno Smith, right? We know what the stats are. He leads the league in interceptions. It has not looked good for the majority of the season from the quarterback position for the Raiders. That being said, when you put into context all the different things and the reasons why certain things happen, it feels like, I don't know if pressing is the right word, but at the end of the day, Geno's a gunslinger, right? So he's trying to fit it into tight windows, and he's trying to make some plays. And I don't know if it's a snowball effect. I'm curious your take of what you've seen out of Geno Smith and the interceptions and some of the decision-making that has or has not been.
Yeah, when you break down all 22 and get on the film, you see that sometimes maybe you could be pressing a little bit and not necessarily just taking what the defense may give you. And it's not a bad thing because these throws, he has been accurate the duration of his career. He's accurate, obviously, in practice with these throws. And so sometimes when you get in the game, the speed's a little different. It could be a tip ball, a little bit more pressure on you than usual from practice because you're not allowed to tackle. All these little things play a factor, but he's a
Hmm.
pro.
Yeah.
And so when you break it down, right down to it, it comes down to execution timing. And sometimes he got somebody in his face. And from time to time, and I'm pretty sure Geno Smith has said himself, if he could have a few throws back, not them all, I'm sure
Hmm.
there were some that he was trying to fit in the window that he does all the time. But sometimes you got to throw it away and live to play the next down. And
Hmm.
I think he understands that, especially when you're in field goal range and all these things. So he's a great player. He can play at a high level. He's done it. He's done it. He's done it for a majority of his career, and so I think that's what the Raiders saw, and why he's a head honcho right now. And I think he can actually provide that type of credibility on the field. I mean, obviously they did bring over Pickett
Hmm.
just to be a backup, but these are the type of times, folks, and um, these are the times where you ask those questions in a room. Is it time to split time? Do we give a chance for Pickett to get in a few plays and see what it does, and or not? But yes, of course, when your record is what it is, and your quarterback hasn't played extremely well, and he's leading the NFL in interceptions, sometimes you wonder. But I have no doubt that the organization and the head coach, especially Pete Carroll, is going to evaluate it properly and put the best player out there for the team next week.
Yeah, again, Pete was very honest earlier in the week, said, yeah, obviously the thought goes through your mind. Do we put Kenny in there? But he said, Geno's the guy. And we needed to get those practice reps late in the game against Indianapolis, which is why we didn't see Kenny Pickett. And I'm curious, your experience, I'm sure you've had tough games in your career. And because of the beauty and the uniqueness that is the National Football League, you have a full week between games. So if you're on a high, that week can feel like it goes by in an instant to the next game. When you have a tough game, I would imagine it can feel like it's just dragging on, and you're anxious to get back on the field, and then you're trying to do a little too much to make up for the week before. Did you experience that, or were you good about being able to compartmentalize and kind of start anew that next week?
I always started a good new.
Yeah.
Like I said, I played that 24-hour rule to the fullest, Vince. Like you have no idea. I made myself dive into that promise note. 24-hour rule, feel what you want, move on because you're a professional athlete, and none of those feelings are going to help you go into the next week at all. So I was well at it. I did play with some teammates that kind of either felt themselves a little bit too much going into the next week, and they were getting burnt. I also saw it on the opposite side where some guys was under in the tank too much, and sometimes the teammates couldn't rally their emotions back up, and they
Mm.
kind of plummeted the whole entire season. So I'm one that seriously stares away from those emotions. You got 24 hours to feel that, and that's it.
Yeah, so we'll see what Geno puts out on tape on Sunday. Sounds very motivated, borderline pissed off, rightfully so, right? Things have not gone his way, and he feels like he's making the proper reads. Some of the throws and some of the plays are just not being made by the team, and that's, as he said this week, that's football sometimes, but you got to stick with the process. Okay, let's move forward now and look ahead to this week. The Raiders, as I mentioned, have dropped 4 straight. They're back at home looking for their first win inside Allegiant Stadium in front of Raider Nation. I think I've used the term get right game a couple times this year already, but this feels like, Rashad, this has to be the get right game, right? Because I don't want to even think about the alternative talking about it next week. So if this is the get right game, you're taking on a Tennessee team that won improbably, right, against Arizona. How they won still kind of doesn't make sense. But this is a team that's kind of been blown out a couple times already early on. It's a young football team. It's a team still in transition with a young quarterback, rookie quarterback. What do you see out of Tennessee, and how would you quantify or qualify this game for the Raiders?
This is a indeed must win. If not, things must change. And Tennessee Titans is a good program. I think they're going to develop right now. They're in the genesis of what they're trying to develop. I think Cam Ward will be a really good player in this league. I was high on him watching him in college football all last year. He's a good player. He's trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out a few things over there. And so this is a kind of sort of, as you've noted, a get right game
Mm-hmm.
in which you're going in against a wounded dog, but there are two wounded dogs. And so for the Tennessee Titans, they're looking across the aisle thinking the same thing. So this will be a full shutout battle between two teams that are very capable of winning a game and being really good in the league. I lean obviously towards the Raiders as a more complete football team, top to bottom. But when you look at the defensive line for the Tennessee Titans and you look at some of the special players they have on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be a great matchup. But yeah, got it. This is a must-have game at home to get back right, to get the nasty taste out of your mouth and move forward because there's a lot of football still to be played, folks. I know how easy it is to get down in the dumps, especially as a fan when it's
Mm-hmm.
early and you don't have a 4 or 5-0 team. It's like, oh, here we go again, folks. It's not that yet. It's
Yeah.
not that yet at all. There's a lot of football to be played, and I think that we're going to see again. We got great leadership. We're going to see a turnaround, and this is a good week to start it.
Do style points matter in a game like this, or you just need a win no matter how it looks?
You need a win no matter how it looks. But yeah, style points matter, especially style points matter if you lose. Let's just correct that. If you win, hey, we don't care. It could
Okay.
be the ugliest win I've ever seen in my
Okay.
entire life. But if you lose, it's based upon the style points. You go out there and get smoked 40-0. I mean, we're having a different conversation between if you lose by a field goal. However, if you win by a field goal or if you win by 50, it doesn't matter. The win is the win. So, yes, those things do matter when it comes to evaluating personnel and making changes.
Mm-hmm.
Style points only matter majority when you lose.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I feel like a little extra style points in a win might go a long way in front of Raider Nation at home. We'll see what that looks like. But style points have come with Ashton Genty when things have gone well for the Raiders. And to the conversation we were having with Gino, Pete was asked earlier in the week, how do you make Gino more comfortable? How do you get Gino in a better rhythm, more efficient, as we've come to be used to in watching Gino in Seattle? He said, we need to run the ball more. We need to run the ball more. Now, the Raiders have trailed in nearly 75% of the football time so far this season. So, as you know, it's probably difficult to really keep that ground game going when you're playing catch-up. But when you hear Pete Carroll say, we need to run the ball more, I would imagine as a running back, that is music to your ears. And especially in this particular matchup, where the Tennessee Titans are the third worst ranked rushing defense in the NFL, it feels like a layup type game for Ashton Genty. Nothing's easy, Rashad. That's not what I'm saying. But it feels like this is getting right and really getting right in that run game.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an opportunity where, even Mostert is going to get us a chance to get some burn and running the ball. I think, obviously, like you said, nothing is a gimme. This is the NFL. Everybody's paid to play at a high level. But, however, yeah, if you just look across the board, anybody who establishes the run and controls the run, controls the clock, helps the defense, and I've personally talked to many offensive linemen in my time, and they all rather run the football because it's easier to move the person in front of you and hat on the head than it is to set back and pass protect because you're dealing with some very skillful, oversized human beings that you're trying to stop from getting a quarterback and creating a pocket. So yeah, if you can smash mouth football, move the football, move the chains, these things make a big difference. And obviously, special team play, that it's a big deal. And last week we saw it play a difference very early. So I think running the ball helps the special teams too.
Yeah, you keep bringing up special teams, and rightfully so. Not having Michael Mayer, I think a lot of people are like, okay, offensively, there's different weapons that they can manage, right, on offense. But I think everybody, maybe everybody outside of this building, overlooked the fact of what Michael Mayer does on special teams. He got hurt on that special teams play in punt coverage, but you look at the blocked field goal against Chicago, where the pressure came, that was Michael Mayer's spot. He was not available because of a concussion. You look at the punt block that occurred in Indianapolis, that was Michael Mayer's spot that nobody blocked and eventually got A.J. Cole hurt. So Michael Mayer back in the fold this week is obviously a massive boost, not just to the offense, but hopefully in that special teams unit as well. The Raiders go out and sign special teams ace John Radigan, who played under Pete in Seattle. You think that's an easy fit, a plug-and-play guy that's going to help stabilize some things. So special teams, you would hope. I don't know if we can safely assume it will get better, but you expect it to get better because it's been such an anomaly because Tom McMahon has run such a tight ship the last few years here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know how many people actually saw that particular play where it was a block punt, but it was a unique formation where everybody's lined up across the line and it kind of can make a short edge. However, if you look at the step of that, in that tight end spot at that particular time, it was kind of off key. So, they went back to the original punt formation immediately after that. I don't know what will happen moving forward, but, there's nothing that is unspecial about special teams as a player who established himself as somebody who was blocking punts very well. I knew how to get in where I fit in, folks, just to let you know. When it comes to tackling on special teams, I wasn't that guy. I had more block punts than tackles. Imagine that stat. But you got to understand your skill set, and having a guy on the football field like Michael does, who's special, who knows he's just an all around great football player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the guy that you kind of need many of him on the football team to establish a great program. Undersung hero, could do any and everything, available, physical, and a locker room guy. And so these are the type of players you need, and he's coming back, and I think it'll make a difference.
Now, I understand you talked about the 24-hour rule. Are you a momentum guy? Do you believe in momentum?
It's a real thing. Cannot be stopped.
Okay, so to that point then, Cam has his best quarter, I would say, 5 weeks into his rookie campaign. Cam Ward in the fourth quarter against Arizona. If he's a momentum guy, he's sitting there saying, I have all the momentum coming in to Sunday. How do you stop that momentum? How do you quell that success that Cam Ward just had early? Because I would imagine, I just heard from Patrick Graham yesterday say, we got to take the ball away. And when Cam Ward is that focal point, I imagine that's got to be the biggest message from the defensive side of things this week.
Absolutely. And just to have fun with it a little bit, folks, momentum, one of the ways to stop it is gravity. And they have to get on a flight. And it's not easy to travel across the country and have the same style of momentum inside of a new arena that you've never been in the black hole. So the momentum shift changes immediately before the kick is even had at kickoff. So smash them in the mouth, get physical quick, and establish a physical game on the defensive side of the ball. I love to see defense go out first if I had my druthers, because you want to get a takeaway, attack, blitz, throw everything at the kitchen sink to disrupt, and trust your defense and secondary in the umbrella of the entire defense to slow them down, because this is the route to win. This is to make it an ugly game and a scrappier game.
The running back wants the defense out front first?
Yeah. Yes. This coach, I'm looking at it from a coach's side.
Yeah, that's your coach's hat. Is this also player Rashad Jennings as well?
No, I want the ball first. I always want the ball. I want the ball first. Heck, and matter of fact, halftime, when we kick the ball, I want an onside kick, because I want to try to get it back immediately. So I always want the ball in my hand.
Okay. I just had to make sure we clarified that situation. Okay. We understand a couple weeks ago the Chicago Bears, that Chicago market, they had a 6-month marketing campaign to bring Chicago Bears fans out to Allegiant Stadium, out to Vegas. It is what it is with visitors coming into Vegas. Everybody wants to come visit the Raiders in Las Vegas. I don't want to speak in absolutes, but I can't imagine there's going to be a ton of Tennessee fans making their way out to this game. I could be wrong, but this feels like again, another opportunity, a true home field advantage, a true opportunity to put on a show. So if you're in the room and it's Saturday night and it's the final team meeting before the game and Rashad Jennings gets called up in front of the group, what are you saying? What is the message you are giving to the team ahead of Sunday?
What am I saying to the Raiders ahead of Sunday? Listen, folks, this week is another week. Last week won't ours. This week is another week, and we have to make it ours. Jobs on the line. Nowhere to look besides the players in here and our fans at home. We can't let a team come in from across the country and get this win. And if we don't win, which ain't gonna happen, we ain't got to talk about it. I'm leaving it at that because there is no energy that can be felt that there is a slither of potential doubt. This is a game that is a must win. Players know it, coaches know it, and majority of fans understand it. And so I know for sure the fans play a big role in this because it's going to be loud. I haven't seen a Tennessee Titan fan in my life outside of Tennessee. So there's going to be black, there's going to be silver, and there's going to be very loud on third downs when the Tennessee Titans have the ball. So this is a game to win.
You haven't not one jersey outside the state of Tennessee.
I ain't never seen one. I haven't yet. That's one jersey I ain't seen.
You keep saying it's a must win, and I don't disagree with you in the slightest. But is it just because it's a must win because of what the Raiders have gone through the past 4 weeks, or is it also because of the opponent? It's a gettable opponent. It has to be a win. Is it both, or is it all what the Raiders are doing?
It's all what the Raiders are doing.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that, and so we can, I appreciate the question, so we can have a discrepancy here.
Yeah.
The reason why I say it's all about what the Raiders are doing, because I believe in the Raiders team. I think that they're a good team. I think that they have the personnel to be very competitive. Now, if I didn't think that they had the personnel, then it would be because, they have a beatable opponent.
So, Rashad, when we look at this time next week, what do you think we're going to be talking about? Who on the Raiders do you think we're going to be talking about?
We're going to be talking about a victory by the Raiders, baby. The Raiders going to get back in charge. They're going to get a victory. I think one of the players that may stand out is Besh. I'm still thinking that he's going to get some more opportunities. He's a big physical wide receiver. Obviously, we'll be talking about Genty. And on the defensive side of the ball, I think Crosby is going to be a wreck. And I think who's leading the tackles will be White. I think those are the big key guys that we're going to be talking about here next week as why the Raiders got a victory.
There it is. Can't say it any better than that. Rashad, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening, watching to the pregame presented by Twitch. You can catch us on Raiders.com, up on Raiders YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. The pregame presented by Twitch. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Week 6. Raiders, Titans, Allegiant Stadium. Kickoff set for Sunday at 1:05. We will talk to you next week.